Beylisinden yeni yollar. İsterse görüşeceğiz.
As an elegiac prelude to his history, which describes invasions and conquests throughout Armenian lands, first by the Byzantines and then by the Seljuk Turks, which resulted in the slaughter, mass migration, exile, and dispersion of a large portion of the local Armenian population. Most migrated westwards into various regions of the Byzantine Empire. A tale of two diasporas then ensued. Many diasporan communities eventually disappeared via assimilation, as had generations of earlier Armenian migrants into the East Roman or Byzantine Empire. But one region stood apart from the rest, the diaspora in Kilikia, Cilicia. There, Armenians lived not as defeated exiles, but managed to create anew, rebuilding the cultural institutions of their homeland on foreign soil. Churches, monasteries, schools, the centers of learning to train the next generation of leaders. The seat of the Catholicos even relocated there, and though it was not the native homeland of the Armenian people, it soon became a thriving cultural center. In a stunning reversal of fortune, Kilikian Armenians achieved a height of cultural production in literature, the visual arts, and architecture almost unrivaled by any other period of Armenian history. They did this in innovative ways, not just by imitating the past. There was fertile engagement and cross-cultural exchange with all the peoples of the Crusader Middle East, as well as Armenians back in the traditional homeland. Such cultural flourishing did not just happen on its own, but was an intentional project that required strategic planning and prioritizing, major investment and endowments, dedication and devotion, yes, passion and love. Love and care of one's own culture, and a refusal to let the beauty, wisdom, and truth found in it perish from the earth. No matter the cost, no matter the conditions, no matter the circumstances, no matter the challenges. What about us here today? When Armenians began coming to this country, America, in the late 19th century, most of them did so as migrant workers. Many planned to return home after making sufficient money in America. It was only in the 1890s and first decades of the 1900s, with unrest, oppression, and violence spreading across the Ottoman Empire, that the mentality of Armenian immigrants started to shift, and they began to come with the intention to stay and build a new life here. Some who came to these shores, while proud to become Americans, hoped to preserve the Armenian language and culture. Others were happy to assimilate completely and forget their troubled past. After World War I, with Armenian orphans and destitute communities throughout the Middle East, the model of making money in America in order to send to Armenians overseas began to solidify. The primary role of Armenian Americans soon emerged. They were philanthropists, funders, donors, or sponsors of Armenians abroad, but not producers of culture in their own right. This contrasts sharply, for example, with the Armenian communities that formed in Lebanon and Syria in the 20th century, where efforts were made to establish cultural institutions and educate cultural leaders, writers, musicians, teachers, newspaper editors, who mastered the Armenian language and could produce new literary, artistic, and cultural works. Where Armenian culture was given attention in America, it was mostly in the form of past-looking preservation, whether in the form of museums or in preserving art forms unchanged from Ottoman times. After the fall of the Soviet Union, the role of American Armenians, not as producers of culture, but as philanthropists and patrons of culture abroad, was solidified even more. When American Armenians decided to invest in cultural institutions on a large scale, they mostly chose to do so not in this country, but overseas, whether in the Republic of Armenia or Artsakh. Meanwhile, as the generations go on, American-born Armenians have become less and less connected to Armenian culture, viewing it as something that lives mostly in the past or in another place overseas. Very few American-born Armenians have grown up to be cultural leaders, in part because schools and other cultural institutions in this country are less focused on producing such leaders and have relied more on Armenian communities abroad to come and fill this need. So I invite us gathered here today to ponder the following questions. Do we believe that Armenian culture can flourish here in the United States? Or are we fated to disappear, like some medieval Armenian diasporan communities? Will we rather choose to follow the model of medieval Gilicia and invest our time, energy, creativity, and resources in Armenian cultural institutions here, on this foreign soil that is our new home? These questions seem more critical than ever in light of the ongoing depletion of the Armenian communities of the Middle East and the increasingly precarious conditions in the Republic of Armenia.